Scenes.
They're too repetitive, they'll
Dialogue.
make no sense. All the
Actors.
are
C-list.
and the
Poster art.
the mess. There's so much here to tear apart.
Watch.
Quit for a week, now that week has passed. It's why I hate this
Movie.
podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album, the show where we pick an album or a song, listen to it for an entire week straight, and come back here and tell you why or if we hate it. Instead of doing that this week, though, we're doing something completely different. If this is your first time here, if you found us by way of the movie, fantastic. Welcome to the show. Good luck. That's right, folks. Instead of doing an album or a song this week, we had to take some time, direct a little bit of hate towards something special. But before we get into it, with me as always, co-host extraordinaire, Atticus Noble to my Anakin Skywalker, Timothy Richardson. Atticus, how you doing?
Not great, Garrett.
I want to remind you, this was your idea.
That's fair. I am not doing great, though, because I woke up this morning to find that my hair had been cut into the style of the main antagonist of this week's movie, which is not a great look for me. And also, I spent the past, 3 days moving all of our stuff a few floors down because we were rapidly running out of Garrett's money. And it turns out, I didn't really remember this because I wasn't paying attention, but I have spent the past 2-ish years giving all the poors that live on lower floors incredible amounts of shit for being poor, and now they all live above us, and they are not letting me forget it. Did you cut my hair like this?
Absolutely. I thought that was obvious.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were going to deny it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you look great, Atticus. Get you in the
like
mood.
That. Don't like that.
Got that high and tight. Look like a
a real
space
asshole.
Nazi.
Yes, okay, that's fair.
It's great. It's great stuff. We'll see if we can put it on the socials. Tim has hidden most of the cameras in the house and smashed many a mirror when he saw what he looked like, but that's not why we're here. Tim, what movie have we been watching for an entire week straight?
We have been watching for literally an entire week straight, at least it feels that way, Rebel Moon - Part 1: A Child of Fire, released in 4 theaters in Paris, Toronto, Los Angeles, and the Big Apple, as if this were an art film on December 15th, 2023, and on Netflix where it belongs, December 22nd, 2023.
Interesting. And Tim, after an entire week with Rebel Moon - Part 1: Dawn of Justice, do you hate this movie?
Oh, Garrett. A little bit of conflict within me today because, Garrett, I do hate this. This movie is trash. It's gross. It's incredibly derivative. It's a bad movie. It's mostly in slow-mo. That being said, I think...
wait.
Just wait.
Just let it be said and don't say more.
I do hate it. But, Garrett, I also might love this movie. If you were to agree to it, I would happily stop this recording and watch this absolute piece of shit up to 2 more times back to back before resuming this.
I will not do that.
That's fair. That's fair. And that's the wise move. I'm just saying I would, but I do kind of hate it.
You have Stockholm Syndrome with this movie.
It's so great. It's so great. I will say this. I was very entertained this week, at the very least. What about you, friend? Do you also love this movie?
Oh my, yes. No. Wait, did you say love?
Yes.
Oh my, no. I hate this. I really dislike this. We're going to get so into it. So I don't want to say more, but...
It sucks. This movie sucks.
It does. It really sucks.
I might love it. I love it more than I hate it, though. That's really what I have to decide this week.
Yeah, that might be true. Because it's...
I had a good time the first 2 times I watched this movie this week. Much less after that.
There were so many more times.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get into it in just a moment. I'm curious before we do. Tim, what is your personal history both with Rebel Moon - Part 1: A Child of Fire and Ice, and more broadly, its creator, Mr. Zack Snyder?
Well, our history is much the same, I think, with the Snyder.
It's gotta be.
We have a habit of hate watching Zackless Snyder films. We saw 300. I remember this in a packed theater and laughed the entire way through it, much to the dismay of the 98% male audience who is there mostly to heterosexually admire the men or whatever.
Yeah, they were not into our take.
We watched Superman and Watchmen together, although I believe not in theaters. We saw Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Part 1 in theaters. And then you did you've got to see this, you've got to see this trash, and then you've got to see this, I don't even know what, on the Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League Marathon. I've also seen the Mallrats movie he made and the Zombie Vegas movie he made.
The Mallrats movie?
Yeah. They were like running around a mall or something. I don't really remember much else.
The zombie movie?
Oh, yes, they were zombies.
Oh, God damn you.
Anyway, most of his movies are objectively bad, but I am quite familiar with his work. I was super excited to watch this. I have now watched it multiple times. Too many times. And I've watched the next one, and I believe you haven't, but god damn it, you will. And I'm excited for you that you get to see Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scar Giver fucked me.
I hope there's somebody in there that goes, "Hello, Scar Giver."
I believe
I'm picturing
so, yes.
the Nightman.
I believe
Is it
somebody
Rob
says it
McElhenney?
in this one.
He does say the Scar Giver.
Yeah, The Scar Giver.
I don't know that he hisses like the Nightman.
Garrett, have you seen this movie before?
Yes, sadly. So I won't give my history, that is to say your history, again, because as you pointed out at the beginning, virtually seen all these together. So my history with this movie, though, is 100% your fault. I was just going to skip it. I knew I didn't want to see it. It didn't look good. The critics' reviews were eviscerating, and public sentiment was no thank you. So I was just going to skip it. And then Tim comes along and he says, guess what I watched while you were gone? Rebel Moon / Part 1, and the Sorcerer's Stone. And you must watch it. And in case anybody hasn't figured it out yet, Tim's in love with this movie. I don't know if it's particular people that are in it.
Just love.
Yeah, I know when you're
Dude, it's getting bleak.
Anyway, Tim insisted I watch it, said it's absolutely one of the worst films he's ever seen, and he's got to talk to somebody about it. And so I watched it. I completely agreed. We had that conversation, and then and then Part 2 came out. And I gotta be honest, I was gonna skip it. I was not gonna watch the second one. But then last week, when we had the sublime incident, that is to say, we drew the unspeakable album, Tim had the bright idea, what if we watched Rebel Moon - Part 1, A Child of Fire again? Only this time for the podcast. And so I said, why the fuck not? I am of mixed feelings as to whether or not it was a good idea. I think, honestly, the part that I'm most unhappy about is that Part 2 is out there. And I really just don't want any more.
Garrett, Parts 3 through 6 are in a man's brain right now because news broke this week or last that he is planning a 6-movie trilogy, which is an incredibly stupid thing to say. I believe he means a trilogy where each installment is actually 2 movies because he makes like 11-hour movies. But I just love the idea that he doesn't know what try means.
Yeah, that is clear. God damn it. Anyway, so that's your history. That's my history. We're living our history together now.
I say that quite a bit. I think it's poetic. Poignant.
I don't love it on the subway when you turn to me, smile, and go, you know, right now, what we're doing, we're living our history.
Yeah, but you can't argue with it. It's true.
It's all factually accurate, but then I'm pretty certain you try to hold my hand and I'm going to slap you. Anyway.
Listen, I'm a little off balance on the subway when people don't move to let me sit in their seat, okay?
I will say, Tim has a vestibular issue. You topple like a Tim on a subway. There's really nothing quite like it, folks. You really ought to see it. Anywho, Tim, before we can talk about this ridiculous flum, I am assuming you did some sort of history of the band.
Sort of. So I did a little bit, just a very, very brief thing on each one of these characters, the main actors, the 7 samurai, if you will, in this, and then a little bit on the Zackless P. Snyder.
All right, setting the stage, a little bit of production background.
Yeah, but very, very minor, because I want want to get into this, but the main character, Cora / Arthelius, is played by Sofia Boutella. This role is, I assume Zack wanted the lady from The Mandalorian to do this, but apparently everyone hates her now.
Yeah, I'm glad she wasn't cast in this.
Fair enough. I don't think I've ever seen this person in anything. Apparently she was in that Tom Cruise Mummy movie.
Nobody saw that.
Yes, and to be clear, she does not do a great job with the dialogue in this film, but that might be mostly Zack's fault.
The dialogue.
Yes. Ed Skrein is Admiral Atticus Noble. He is the bad guy. You might know him from the Deadpool movie and maybe Alita, Battle Angel.
I don't remember who he was in that. Was he the Battle Angel?
Maybe, or the Alita.
No, that was a woman named Alita.
Perhaps he was the Christoph Waltz.
Nailed it.
He really hams it up, and I will say his haircut looks much better on him than it does on me. Guy looks great.
I think you both look fucking weird.
Michelle Husman, Gunnar the Farmer. This guy is trying to look like Bradley Cooper. He's the fake Bradley Cooper.
Not quite Bradley Cooper is how he is referred to in my notes.
Yeah.
Through the whole thing.
Yep, mine too. He has an album that we're going to listen to possibly 2 weeks from now that might be in Dutch. I don't know. He is Dutch. And he's also in Game of Thrones, Treme, and The Flight Attendant. Stas Nair, probably not how you pronounce it, is Tarek, aka Tarzan. He's another Game of Thrones alumni, as well as a guy that was in the show Supergirl.
AKA, if you've seen the film, he's the dude who hates shirts.
Absolutely. Great abs, no notes.
I mean, I can't argue. Guy's got great abs.
Yeah.
Weird thing to say, but sure.
Duna Bay plays a character for some reason called Nemesis, although she is a protagonist in this movie.
No, it's got to be Bae Duna. It's not Duna Bay. What's wrong with you? Somebody doesn't know Korean. I know, right, Gino?
She's a samurai with robot arms. I've never seen her in anything.
She, same, because I don't watch a lot of South Korean movies, but...
See, that's the weird thing. I do watch a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure I've never seen her.
Well, she plays Nemesis, right?
Yeah.
That's a stupid name. Can I say that?
It is. It absolutely is.
That's like a 14-year-old, that's his screen name for Xbox. I'm going to be Nemesis.
Well, sure, but whose nemesis is she? She has no nemesis. You cannot be a solo nemesis. It's like a magnet, right? You can't just have a positive end of a magnet. Doesn't exist.
Sure, but she's the nemesis to the Imperium.
No, she's not.
What are you talking about? She's known for assassinating all the Imperium's high officers.
Sure, but that doesn't make her the nemesis.
Oh, you think she's being boastful? She hasn't quite risen to the height of nemesis.
This movie would posit that Cora is the nemesis.
Yeah, that's true.
It doesn't matter. Jimin Hansu.
Close. It's actually the easiest one. You want to try it again? It's Jimin Hansu.
Nope. Don't want to try that again. General Titus, he's in a bunch of those DC movies. He was the wizard in Shazam.
He's definitely also in the Marvel movies. How are you?
He was also he's in the DC movies as well. He's in like all of them. He voices them, and he's the wizard in Shazam. Yeah.
Oh, he's the wizard in Shazam.
He is.
But you're talking about cartoons.
In Marvel movies. I was going to get there. He is also in Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio, who our intern Arthur got to guest on next week's episode, which is pretty exciting.
Wait, hold on. Just so we're all clear about who's going to be punished when this doesn't happen. You're claiming that Arthur has secured actor Leonardo DiCaprio to be on this show next week.
Arthur claimed to me that was the case, to be clear.
He's given me I don't know what Tim's talking about. Look, he's not saying it, but that's the vibe I'm getting. Is there a chance you're setting Arthur up to be killed?
You're gonna be caned. Yes, with the cane.
Maybe with some sort of copper-plated bone.
No, it won't be that. That's stupid. Ray Fisher is Darian Bloodaxe. I did not recognize him in this. You know him from various Zack Snyder movies.
I didn't recognize him at all until I looked it up, and I was like, really?
Yeah. Charlie Hunnam, he's the Han Solo of the movie, named Kai. He's Kai, right?
Yes, Charlie Hunnam plays Kai, which I will say before I Googled who's in this movie, I referred to him in my notes as some Charlie Hunnam looking dude.
Interesting. I referred to him as Sons of Anarchy.
Did you watch that show?
No, I tried to watch it. I got like 3 episodes in, and then I decided I do not care.
I think you probably told me that story, and I was like, all right, don't need to do that.
Fair enough. Sir Anthony P. Hopkins is the narrator and Jimmy the Robot.
Man, I don't want to jump the gun. We're not in there yet. Not to the general thoughts / movie. But can we just say it before we even say another word? Jimmy, best character of the movie.
Yes, but horrifically wasted.
Oh, not in it.
Right.
Least in it.
Now, I've got some bad news for you about the second movie.
No.
Just as wasted. Never gets a goddamn cool thing to do. He gets a thing to do, but it doesn't matter. It's wasted.
I assumed that the next one's the Jimmy movie.
Yeah, one would, and I've got a lot of things to say because I've written a movie for Jimmy that we will get to at some point in this episode that's way better than this movie or whatever he gets to do. Anyway,
That's shocking.
yeah, that is The Seven Samurai. And then, of course, there's director Zack P. Snyder of Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen, DCEU, Sucker Punch, Army of the Dead fame, as well as his best movie. And this is an official Why I Hate This Movie recommendation. If you watch this movie after this podcast, you will not regret it. You will not be angry with me. That
Don't
is
say it.
Legends of the Guardian, The Owls of Gahoo.
Okay. All right. We're all right. I thought you were going to say Sucker Punch.
Oh, I already mentioned that one. No.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
don't listen.
horrific fantasy.
Yeah, don't watch that.
Yeah, unless you love. Well, you know what? If you love fantasies, a lot of his movies kind of work. You got
This one.
the current one, multiple. You got
That Owls of Goal.
yeah, the Army of the Dead kind of features it a bit. There's the Watchmen.
Army of the Dead, is that the one where the lady has the baby that's a zombie?
No, maybe.
Or Dawn of the Dead, not Army of the
Yes,
Dead. I think Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
The mall movie.
I like that movie. I like the original and the remake. It might be my favorite Zack Snyder film.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with his directing. There's nothing wrong with his filming stuff. He should not write anything.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Although also though, like, no more slow-mo.
That's true.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can't speed it up either.
Despite his filmography, Zack Snyder is by all accounts a wonderful person.
That's
Everyone
true.
loves working with him. Everyone that knows him has nothing but positive things to say about him. Now, on the flip side, his favorite films are, and this is true, 1981's Excalibur, Mad Max 2, A Clockwork Orange, RoboCop, and Blue Velvet.
Okay, hold on. What was the second one?
Mad Max 2?
That's a pretty good movie.
Sure. Shouldn't
That's
be in
Beyond
your top
Thunderdome, I
5,
think.
though.
Nah, is that the one with Tina Turner though? Maybe. Okay, RoboCop totally could be in my top 5.
Yeah, and
that
it makes
movie's
sense to
great.
be in Zack Snyder's top 5.
Yeah. What was the next ones? You did them all too fast.
1981's Excalibur.
Okay, that movie sucks. I hate that movie. That was one of those movies that was like so boring that they would play it in public schools on rainy days instead of recess.
Then there's Blue Velvet.
Good movie. Don't know why it would be in anyone's top 5.
And then there's A Clockwork Orange.
Okay, I could see it as a filmmaker appreciating that
I can
enough
see
to put it.
as a sexual violence aficionado.
It's a good movie. You don't like Clockwork Orange?
Oh, it's great. It's great. Shouldn't be a top 5 movie, and it's a
I
real
don't know.
weird choice.
I'm thinking about it from like a filmmaking perspective. There's some really unique shit in there for the time.
Absolutely. Shouldn't be in your top 5.
Agreed to disagree.
Anyway, the pitch for this was to Lucasfilms. Zacklis pitched this movie, the movie that we're going to talk about, to Lucasfilms either just before or just after they were bought by Disney. Now, I personally choose to believe it was after because it makes it way funnier that he walked in and pitched this particular plot to Disney.
Yeah.
Holy
Could
shit.
you imagine what's her face like getting this pitch?
And we'll okay, let's save that for a key moment in the movie and we'll go through exactly that. But yeah, obviously he claimed this was inspired by Kurosawa films. And again, it definitely is, but through Star Wars or through something else.
Right. None of it is based on the original source material. It is based on the movie you saw 6 years ago that was based on the source material, making it a wildly diluted experience.
Yes.
And I want to ask Tim, do you think, is this a better movie if it is within the Star Wars universe, given that so much of it rips off Star Wars?
It makes more sense. Like, it really feels like he wrote this as a Star Wars movie and then changed some of the names and maybe some of the imagery, but kept basically everything else the same. I mean, there's goddamn lightsabers in this movie. movie, Garrett?
I lost it. It was maybe my first and loudest guffaw.
Yeah. And it's like the Superman thing where you can tell like he doesn't understand the purpose of it. You know,
Right.
like he doesn't understand the core concept of Superman because in this movie, the first lightsaber, it's not the samurai lady. It's a random fucking essentially stormtrooper like 12 minutes into the movie that just has one. It's just a thing.
Yeah, it's just an aside.
Yeah.
Like, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
very strange. Yeah. Christopher Nolan said he should go ahead and pitch this to Kathleen Kennedy, which I believe was a bit.
A joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing it as a goof.
Yeah.
Or was being insanely sarcastic. And despite all accounts of Zack Snyder being a lovely human being who does amazing philanthropic work, does not understand human emotion.
Yes. When they turned him
Apparently.
down, apparently they said, look, we love your idea, but we're going to go in we're going to
Less awful
do
direction.
something else. Yeah. They did not love
Not
this
that,
idea.
though. Well, like, it's so much of this movie is but gritty.
Right.
And, like, I can't imagine the people at Disney even entertaining that.
Oh, sure. It's like you saw Rogue One and was like, yes, okay, sort of in that vein, right? But what if the movie, and little spoilers here, we'll get into it, hinged on a
Attempted
rape? Because we have to keep this in mind. As we go through the key moments of this film, he wanted to have Star Wars characters in this.
That is important to remember.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. What other background dressing do we need, establishment, before we can dive into this beast?
I don't know. I think we're.
Maybe one last thing we should mention in case anybody doesn't know. There's going to be an R-rated version of this.
That's true, and I feel like they're gonna show it.
What? Care to tell me what the it is in that sentence?
I don't know, but none of it's good. There's no
Yeah, that's
version
true.
of that's not upsetting.
Oh, God. I think I just figured out what you're referring to, and I don't want to see it.
Well, it could be anything. It could be a man's skull crushed by a giant bird. That's
Or maybe that Jimmy robot has a huge penis. A huge robot penis. That's not PG-13.
no.
Or is it? Like,
Do you think it's gonna be that?
No, I don't think it'll be that.
All right. Well, Garrett, we start this movie off as all good movies start with voiceover work by Anthony Hopkins because he's the narrator for some reason.
Extreme exposition dump. Turn
Yes.
on your subtitles so that you can get all these fucking names straight. Because
Yeah.
it didn't come with a liner notes.
Yes.
So, Jesus.
There's a king of a mother world. He was assassinated. Some guy named Belisarius took over. He didn't have the integrity or ingenuity or creativity to call himself anything more interesting than a regent, but I believe him to be the Lecostier of this universe, something space Nazis.
Yeah, he's the Palpatine.
Yes. And he's named after a famous Byzantine commander, and it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, because why would anyone get excited about that?
Yeah.
So he gets all jazzed up, takes over, probably orchestrated the assassination of the king, queen, and their daughter, whatever her name is, Princess Issa. But
Stay
we don't know
tuned,
that.
Garrett.
Oh, Tim, spoiler alert. I'm going to make a lot of predictions today. I hope I don't ruin part 2, or excuse me, Rebel Moon - part 2, the Sin Eater.
The Scar Giver.
That's what I said.
Belisarius.
I'm Twittering or whatever the fuck it's called now, McElhenney, and asking him just to say, hello, Scar Giver. I feel like he'll do it.
But maybe put on some mascara first. Now, we start on a moon. It's orbiting a planet. It looks kind of like Saturn, but this moon, Garrett, is way too close to this planet. Like, close enough that the
Absolutely.
physics wouldn't work. It's at most 11 miles from the surface of this planet, although it does vary quite a bit throughout the film.
Yeah, when it's inconvenient visually, the planet moves very far away.
Yes. There's a village. It's populated by the space Amish, and there appear to be about 30 of them in total.
We should mention, like, this is where we first meet our hero, Cora.
Yes.
She's out there doing some farming with some sort of space horse.
And there's
she's
like,
like-
so many farmer glamour shots on this. Like it's
It's so weird.
it threatens to turn into like an early scene in pornography. It's this
but
like,
it's like dirt related. bed.
Yeah, and wiping brows, and everyone's real sweaty.
It's really odd. Like,
Yeah.
and honestly, so I don't know anything about part 2 except for this sentence. Somebody said to me, "Hope you like wheat."
Yes.
I don't know what that means, other than I assume there's a lot of wheat fields. But anyway, yeah, so we meet Cora, and she's plowing a field, and like she pauses to look out at that ridiculous looking planet that's about a mile and a half away. And I thought she was eating dirt. She's just sniffing it, which is still weird because it's mostly poop. But like at this point, we are, I don't know, let's say we'll be generous, 3 minutes into the movie, and we have had voiceover, never a great sign, excessive exposition dump. Oh, you didn't even mention, Tim. Oh, maybe you did. I don't think so. Did you mention the space vagina?
I did not.
How dare you? Start it over, Gino. There's in the exposition that opens the film that lets you know that Belisarius has sent his herald, who we're going to meet in a little bit. What's his face there? Atticus Finch.
Okay, hold on. While we're on it, did they name this character after Atticus Finch?
Yes, of course they did. When in doubt, yes, they took it from somewhere else.
But why him?
Oh, I could not answer that question.
Okay. I was just saying, he does not seem to have, maybe in the second book where he's kind of a racist, he doesn't seem to have a lot of To Kill a Mockingbird Atticus Finch qualities. Anyway, Garrett, so yes, there's a space vagina, there's a herald, there's 30 people on this entire planet, they're Amish for some reason. And yeah, we meet Cora, the main lady. There's some super awkward dialogue with absolutely no chemistry as the farmer guy, Gunnar, this is the fake Bradley Cooper, played by a Dutchman. Yes. And
yeah, he's creeping around in the background watching Cora plow, and he's super into it.
Yes, and Cora has a dark, mysterious backstory that she's not ready to reveal yet. It's just too painful.
Right, but they will. Anyway, they go off to a village feast where they keep hearing that Den is looking for Cora, like repeatedly. It gets irritating. And this is where we see the dude from Ant-Man, aka Cory Booker, show up, and he's playing the leader of this weird village, I guess we'll say.
It's a horny village, Garrett.
Well, yeah, he demands that they all go home and fuck so that the harvest will be bountiful.
Yes, the thrusting of hips makes the crops grow, Garrett.
I've always said that.
Yes. Now, they also all seem to sleep in common rooms, so it's some sort of orgy village as well.
You can look, there's just no touching.
It's pretty hot stuff, no matter what the case is. And also, they're all Swedish, or at least have Swedish accents.
We'll jump to that. What are the accents in this village? Because they are ranging, in my opinion, from Welsh to Nordic to Irish to its own thing.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Gunnar. Gunnar just slowly over the film, by the end of it, he just has an American accent.
Well, he's a Dutch who is slowly learning to become American.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the Cory Booker says, everybody go home, thrust hips, it'll be awesome. I feel like there's a cut sex scene that will be in the R-rated version where we'll actually get to see Den hook up with Cora, but we just have to use our imagination for now.
No, because she doesn't go there.
Yes, she does.
I don't think so.
It is confirmed in the scene 2 scenes from now. I've seen this a lot.
I'm pretty sure she denies it throughout. I think. Well, I don't know.
So anyway, she goes home. Like I said, feels like there's a cut sex scene. They imply perhaps there was some fucking. We'll get there in a minute. She goes home and where she lives with some old man, which is very confusing. And he's like, "Hey, you ought to settle down with Den. I know he's looking for a long-term situation." And she's like, "No, I'm far too mysterious and broken."
And she is. She's right. She's right to not put that on Den. Poor sweet Den.
That's true. Poor sweet Den. Don't worry, folks. We're almost completely out of the Den storyline.
Yes.
Anyway, we get a little bit of Cora backstory as she's bemusing and looking into the middle distance about why she can't love anyone any longer. We learn she's a former stormtrooper. Did you get what the Imperium Guard? Did you get the name of it?
I did not.
I said
no.
Okay, stormtrooper it is. And because of that, she doesn't know how to love. Cut to the next day.
Now, Garrett, let me stop us right here. You're a man who's spent quite a bit of time, I don't know how to say this other than stormtrooping. You can still love, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I have a deep, deep amount of appreciation for human life after having seen so much of it slip through my fingers.
Terrifying.
You brought it up.
Yeah, I did, yes. So yeah, they fuck for crops, and then a spaceship appears in the sky. Now, this is called a dreadnought, Garrett.
Well, see, now I have to pause you right here, because you have already cut the 2 first and arguably most important slow-mo scenes.
God damn it, we cannot do a recap on every slow-mo scene. Go ahead.
They will become more general, but I'd like to make a bit of a big deal out of the first one. So, Here's why I think Den and Korra did in fact fuck, is because Sam and Korra are in the field planting seed, and they're joking that Sam, the blonde-haired lady, overheard a bit of a ruckus at Den's house last night. And then Korra says, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, implying that she does in fact know. It's fucking. That's why I think that they did.
This is in slow-mo?
No, Tim, I'm setting the goddamn scene. Immediately after this anecdote of banging, we cut to Korra's hand and we get a slow-mo seed toss to the earth. Why? I have no idea.
It's pretty great, though.
She then glances up and sees the dreadnought, right?
Oh yeah,
to be
it does
fair,
sneak up on us. It's like the moon in that Moon movie.
Moonfall?
That's the one.
It growls in that movie.
Yeah.
The moon growls. That also changes its distance from the Earth repeatedly from scene to scene.
Yeah.
God,
Now, the
anyway.
Dreadnought, this is a 20th century battleship that peaked around World War I. Mm-hmm. And I want to say, I really do not like this weird future design. A lot of movies do this. You can't tell if it's the far future or the distant past. It's this gross mix of both. And all the terms they use, again, sound like they are like World War I era stuff, like Dreadnought.
Now, to be clear, very recent Star Wars films featured the very term Dreadnought.
Well, of course they did, Garrett.
Because that's what this is from.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure everybody's following.
He is not aware of the World War I term. He's aware of Star Wars because he saw Star Wars.
He saw Star Wars. I think it was episode...
Doesn't matter.
The second one of the newest ones.
Yes.
Where
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's a dreadnought.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then immediately after she sees the dreadnought, Tim, we just had the slow-mo seed toss. She sees the dreadnought, back to the dress, slow-mo seed drop. She drops all of her seed, Tim.
You know what? I definitely hate this movie.
Yes. That's two distinct slow-mo shots of seed inside of a minute.
The space Nazis come down. They are led by Admiral Atticus Noble.
And while they're approaching, though, the village is having an argument. Like, whoa, what do we do? And they're like, basically, the leader's like, we tell them we have nothing. Hope that they fucking leave. Nobody open your goddamn mouth.
Right.
And Gunner's like, well, I've traded with some rebels before. It might not be so bad. They're like, Gunner, shut your mouth.
Yes. And I believe at this point someone asks Korra what they want, to which she replies, everything.
Yeah.
Very ominous.
Scar-giver.
Yes. Now, Atticus Noble comes out of this spaceship, and I love this. He goes up and he goes to the main village elder and just gives him this hug. And
It's the most intimidating hug I've ever seen.
There is nothing more intimidating that a Nazi can do than to hug you on the first meeting, right?
It's not just the hug. Did you pick up on the subtle hand placement?
Oh, yeah.
He cups. No, I'm kidding. Back of the head, folks.
Yeah, that's how you hug a man.
You could see the terror on Cory Booker's face.
Yes. And the sad part about this, because Zack Snyder is a shit director, this isn't a bit throughout the whole movie, but god damn it should be. This
weird fake compassion before incredible violence.
No, not even fake compassion. That's just his greeting. And it's not even happens to be the Nazi greeting. That's just this one guy.
That's what he's up to.
He's a hugger.
And let's pause for a minute on the use of the phrase Nazi. When Atticus Noble, the lead Nazi, emerges from the legally distinct TIE fighters that they took to the ship, and they do fucking sound like not quite TIE fighters, folks. When he emerges, we can all agree that the Empire in the Star Wars films, vaguely Nazi-esque, right? Especially the more recent ones. Remember that Admiral Hux?
Oh, we'll get into that because we have an exact speech like that later.
We do. But this is like everything else Zack Snyder gets anywhere near. What if we did it, but just like times 100? Yeah. This guy out-Nazis the Nazis in his uniform, not in his behavior.
He's got also his behavior. I love this guy's snappy dress. I love his Garrett-like haircut. I don't like his haircut on me.
You look great. Well, you look exactly like he does.
I don't.
Neither of you look good.
Right.
You look like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia towards the third act.
I look like Tom Hanks in Philadelphia mixed with Tom Hanks from Forrest Gump.
Yeah, but that's just because you never shut your goddamn mouth. Breathe through your nose.
That's fair.
Anyway,
now,
he looks like a space vampire.
Yes.
I want to say that.
He does kind of look vampiric. Most of the other space Nazis that are not Atticus, almost all of them have South African accents. And I want to say that's also a smart move, because to me, there is nothing more evil sounding than a white guy with that accent.
Yeah, I'd agree. Also, history, not on their side, for the most part.
No.
Bad people.
Well, yes.
The white ones.
Yes.
I think that's like maybe the one thing we can all kind of get behind. South Africa used to be run by atrocious people.
Absolutely. The Dutch, some would say. This whole scene where Atticus interrogates the Swedish villager, where he's like walking him through the village, going into the longhouse. This feels like Zackathy was going for the scene, like the opening to Inglourious Bastards, where Christoph Waltz like brilliantly and subtly interrogates the farmer about hiding Jews in his house. But he is no Tarantino, and this does not work. Like it's intimidating.
And I like Ed's screen. Tough name.
Atticus.
I like screen. Atticus. And I think he does a good job at being intimidating in this movie, but he is not Christoph Waltz in that scene. And maybe it comes down to editing. I don't even know, but there's no tension aside from the fact that also it's a goddamn Zack Snyder film. So it's a well-known conclusion. Like, he's clearly going to kill Cory Booker. You're not sure exactly when, and certainly not how. We'll get to that in 10 seconds.
Yeah. But also in Inglourious Bastards, it's clear that Christoph Waltz is going to kill a lot of those people in that house. It's not clear exactly how he's going to get there, but just the masterful way that it walks you through that. Yeah. It's brilliant. Like this here, it's just right. Exactly. Here, it's the writing. It's not Atticus's acting. It is definitely the writing. And it's interesting because it starts off with "We want rebels," and then it turns to "We want grain." And apparently they really want grain. No spoilers for the second movie. This isn't a bluff. Apparently, this galactic empire of space Nazis doesn't have a secure, reliable food source, and now they need 30 farmers to provide them with grain for their army? I don't understand.
It sounds flimsy.
It does. They have apparently, if the entire army was made of 74 soldiers, they could probably pull this off.
Yeah, I really don't get it, but we'll see.
And in fact, the math doesn't work out. Here's the thing. They make a big point that 1/5 of the amount of grain that he is demanding is not enough to feed these 30 people. What the Garrett, I'm angry.
Don't worry about it, Tim. Don't do the heavy lifting. Zack Snyder insists upon it.
Zack Snyder also hasn't. The main girl is hiding from Atticus, and again, the Dutchman, the fake Brad Cooper, kind of blows their cover and says, "No, we have enough grain. We could give you some of it, or we could sell you some of it," and makes it clear that the village elder has been lying this whole time.
Yeah, really throws him under the bus.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty. So Atticus beats the bejesus out of him with his, what did you call it? A bone?
I believe it's a giant metal bone.
Interesting. All right, it looks like a metal bone. It does look like a femur.
Bronzed femur.
Yeah.
His wife is femur.
Yeah. His wife is upset that, he's murdered in front of everyone, and she runs over there, and so one of the soldiers kills her with a goddamn lightsaber. Garrett.
I have it bolded in my notes right here. A lightsaber. Out of nowhere, and without any explanation before or after. It's just lightsaber. And then back. Now, arguably, they did just have a guy's face caved in front of him, and maybe they knew lightsabers were a thing, but I don't, Zach. So maybe spend a minute on that.
You know what would have been even better than what you're suggesting is if this guy just lightsabered him, and then it was never mentioned again in any of the 6 movies that he's gonna make. There are no other lightsabers. This guy is just a Jedi who happens to be just content to be some random foot soldier.
Fascinating. I guarantee you, if you ask him, his answer is probably, in this universe, lightsabers aren't even a big deal.
Ugh,
but they kind of are, though, right?
Yeah, because he makes them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is trash. The Nazis leave a small contingent of South Africans to make sure this grain thing goes smoothly, and that includes the last of a race of mechanical knights that can't kill anyone since the king was assassinated and his daughter was killed. So now he just carries things, and also he's voiced by goddamn Anthony Hopkins for some reason.
Unclear why.
Yes.
But as we said, best character of the movie.
Yeah. So there's also a private in this regiment that might be 11 years old at the most.
Marcus?
Yes. He does not seem to be on board with the oppression and whatnot.
Oh, that's not Marcus. Yeah, there's one nice guy. His name's Eris.
Yes. And you don't have to know his name. He was listed in the call sheet as, and these are Zach's words, not mine, Twink Soldier.
That's not great.
It's not.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so these dudes are like unpacking. We meet Jimmy the Robot, aka JC1435. We won't ever have to hear that again. And we learn who the like battalion leader is. I called him not quite Michael Shannon.
Yes, that is what they were going for.
Yeah, almost Zod, but they couldn't get Zod. I'm sorry, Zack. I'm not going to do the picture. I don't understand it. Is it a Star Wars? No, it's way grittier. I can't.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. You were right not to. Yeah, so they treat Jimmy the robot very poorly. They shoot him because he can't fight back. They make fun of him for not being able to fight. And apparently that's new information to a lot of these soldiers. There was apparently a race of mechanical knights that were fighting on behalf of the king, and that's not a thing anymore. And a lot of people seem not to know. It seems like that would be something you knew, but I guess it's not.
Like the day it happened.
Yes.
They get space vaginas.
They do. They absolutely. Not the robots, to be clear.
Can we talk about the foreshadowing in this scene that's just disgusting?
Oh, please.
So this leader, aka not Zod, lets everybody know in a disgusting act of foreshadowing that he wants everyone to know this. I really like young women who fight my advances.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to tell a group of men.
Well, not even that, but the way he phrases it,
there's no doubt that he is a predator.
Okay, he says, that's how I like them, young enough to put up a fight. Now, that's gross, but it also makes no sense, because he likes unwilling women or girls who are younger than what? What's too old to put up a fight? Like, I understand, if he'd said too young to put up a fight, I don't like that.
I don't love that we're dissecting this, but maybe I can put it to bed with this. At a certain age, women begin to consensually want to have intercourse, Tim. He likes to grab them just before that happens.
Though.
Well, sure, but at least
they're still gonna fight.
That's true. I think he's a pedophile.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right.
Let's just put this to bed. Michael Shannon, sorry, not Michael Shannon, is a pedophile.
I feel like the line was, I like him old enough to put up a fight, but that didn't sound appropriately evil enough, and Zack didn't really want to rewrite the line too much.
Yeah, that is interesting. It doesn't actually convey what I definitely think he's trying to convey.
Yes.
I mean, I did walk away from the scene thinking, that guy's probably going to try to have sex with somebody against their will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The tiny private tries to intervene with them fucking with the robot because this is a really, really poorly run military. Just no discipline whatsoever. The space Nazi in charge, Marcus, tells the robot to go wash off in the river, which is weird on its own.
Yep.
And some village girl, this is Sam, right? It's unclear how old she is supposed to be. Garrett's been calling her a sapling, which is gross.
I did not. Fuck you. I will not be lumped in with General Zod.
Fair enough. She goes to help him wash off. And at this point, Jimmy tells her a story in a way that a robot definitely wouldn't about the dead king and his dead daughter and why robots can't fight anymore. There's a lot of talk about compassion and kindness and joy that the robot population lost. I do not think Zack understands the concept of robots. And
yeah, it's very odd because Sam is like a very nice girl and she's making him a little a little headdress out of flowers. And he's like, I used to protect the princess until she was murdered with her parents. You know, you remind me of her.
Yes, you were murdered with your parents.
It's a weird thing to say to somebody.
Yeah, but here's the thing. In this, Garrett, fuck this movie for this. She makes Jimmy a little crown out of flowers and she puts it on his head. And
he blushes.
The goddamn robot blushes with additional face lights that I can only assume are there to convey blushing.
Yes. But is it your conjecture that robots do not need to be able to blush?
Yes.
You would be correct.
Yes. The villagers decide to go along with the space Nazis so they won't be killed. They say, our work fights for us. We're just gonna make extra grain this year.
This part made me laugh so hard because they're just basically like, appeasement? Yeah, let's just roll over. And Cora's like, yeah, cool plan, guys. I'm leaving before we all get murdered.
Right. The guy that pulled her out of the spaceship, the old man she lives with, tries to convince her to do the plot of the movie, but she refuses.
It's great. Like, she's just like, I'm fucking out of here. You know how this ends. I know how this ends. It's not good. And basically, there's no rousing speech. He's basically just like, but what if you did the opposite and rounded up all the rebels? And you put it perfectly. But what if you did the plot of the movie instead?
Yeah.
Like, I would have enjoyed this movie more if that old man then just turned right to camera and looked down the lens and winked at us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, Garrett.
Oh, God,
there
guys,
is
strap in.
The controversial attempted rape scene. Because all of the soldiers except for the child private decide that they are going to rape the water girl. They beat up the child private. They tell him he's going to have to watch. Cora overhears this. The head soldier pretends he's going to stop this and then says, "Not until I split this sapling myself, then you can all have her." Gross,
We're going to
Zack.
leave some of that.
Gross, Zack. What the fuck is wrong with you? But here's the thing. It's important to remember at this point, this was envisioned as a Star Wars movie and it was pitched as such. Zack pitched this scene to Kathleen Kennedy, right? Imagine A New Hope, or maybe a Rogue One, which didn't exist at the time, but the entire impetus for the plot is a bunch of stormtroopers. The stormtroopers you know from those previous movies, they're just raping a villager.
Now they're rapists.
Right? Yeah, like maybe it's Luke Skywalker's mom or aunt or something.
Whatever.
And
Doesn't matter.
I want to be very clear. They keep their helmets on when they do it. You guys love merch. Like maybe you could sell a toy of a fully erect stormtrooper. He's nude
Tim.
below the helmet.
Rein it in.
Also,
Jesus
it
Christ,
comes
Zack.
with a toy of a really, really scared looking village girl.
Yeah, but she's got her own water bucket.
Get the fuck out of my office, Zack, you fucking creep. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a crazy pitch,
Right,
and
right.
almost exactly what happened.
Right. But the real reason, of course, or the most likely real reason here that this scene is in this is that Zack is not a good enough writer to show these soldiers are amoral without them being literal
The most
rapists.
amoral.
Right. Yeah. There's no other shortcut. There's no other path he could take to us not being. Here's the thing. I think that he sees fascist soldiers and he's like, well, those guys seem like the good guys. How do I convey to my audience that they're not?
Yeah, well, I know who we all hate. It's a 4-quadrant villain, Tim. Nobody likes pedophiles.
Yeah.
So when I watched this the first time, my God's honest reaction, aside from just like sheer like shock that this was like the impetus for the film, but my honest to God reaction is like there's a dozen plus people, like soldiers in this battalion. All of them are into sexual assault.
Well, there's one that's not, but he's the little one.
Right. Well put. But my point is it would probably be like 4 guys are maybe into it, but like the other
Maybe
8 or so would be like, hey, but we don't do that because it's wrong and awful and Jesus Christ.
Maybe the way the military has structured itself is it determines everyone's vices and groups them together. So like on another planet, these guys would all be like doing coke or, you know.
We got the party battalion.
Yeah.
What's your problem? Oh, we all are just way too into recreational drugs. I think
Yeah.
we're going to be all right.
Yeah. These guys love games of chance.
What do you guys make? Poppies. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be all right. So Cora comes in with a hatchet and begins
she does.
murdering all these guys with guns. There is some slow-mo.
There's all the slow-mo.
Yeah, and it ends in a standoff with the main soldier guy holding a gun to Sam, the water girl's head, and Jimmy the robot comes in wearing his flower crown. The standoff continues. The soldier orders Jimmy to kill Cora. He stares at this gun as if he does not know. He picks up a gun off the floor. He stares at it as if he does not understand what it does, and it looks like it accidentally goes off and shoots the soldier in the face.
Yeah, but I think we're to believe he shot him in the face.
Sure. So was he just lying about not being able to fight? Like, I don't know why you put that story about them being nonviolent now into the movie just to have him immediately subvert it, right?
I think that's why I thought Jimmy was going to be like really important in part 2. Like there's so much mystery to that character. What else is he capable of that we don't understand?
It's okay, sure, but like the problem with this whole thing is that it's so immediately subverted. This is a great scene if it happens at the end of the movie or anything. It does not make sense to have him.
Well, they had that river scene, Tim, and she reminds him of Princess Issa.
Okay. Well, let's jump because there's only a single other time he's shown in this movie.
Oh, right. You want to go to the very last scene in the movie?
Yeah, let's do that because that gets rid of this character. We don't have to talk about him until next week. So the next time we see this, the entire rest of the movie has happened, and he's just kind of standing there with a
pair of antlers on his
with
head?
a pair of antlers on his head, which this really fucking angered me because that's a cool image. right?
Yeah.
It's a genuinely interesting image. How you got that story from him having flowers on his head to him having antlers could be a great movie, right? Like,
Oh, that's the movie you want.
yeah, take this scene where the girl, Sam, gives him the wreath of flowers, bonds with him. He explains the whole thing. He's physically incapable of killing humans after the king and his daughter were killed because of, robot programming or morals or whatever. His programming somehow, like, something happened because he was like, it doesn't matter. He was told these are the people that are there to protect once they're dead. He doesn't have a purpose.
We got it.
He doesn't, whatever. The weird rapey soldiers come in and actually kill the water girl in front of him. He's unable to do anything about it because he's physically incapable of killing humans, as he made very clear just one scene earlier, and he has to run away instead.
Okay.
Cut to the end of the movie. After months of the soldiers not seeing their way around the village and whatnot, with the villagers attempt resistance in there, it doesn't go well. It's kind of Moon is Down style. Robot emerges from the woods. He's wearing the flower wreath that the girl gave him. It's a little dirty. Soldiers are all in the main hall. He comes in. They basically enslave these villagers. They're giving him shit. They're shooting him. They're mocking him. And then Anthony Hopkins' robot tells him, listen, that day I couldn't kill anybody. I wanted to fight back. I couldn't do it. Programming or whatever. Ran to the forest in shame. Robot shame, Garrett. While I was in the forest, I found a mouse. And I fucking killed that mouse. Because it was small. It was small. And it was difficult to do, but I was eventually able to kill that mouse. And I found a rabbit, fucking killed that. And as he's telling this story about how he killed something bigger and something bigger, he pulls out antlers. But they're not the antlers from this movie, Garrett. They're not clean. It's clear that he just grabbed the top of like a moose or like, its non-union alien equivalent and just ripped the top of its skull off of its body. And he sets that on top of his own head. And he's just like, listen, after working my way up, I am ready to kill humans now. I mean, listen, it's not a great movie. It's better than anything this movie has to offer.
Right.
But that's the story, the interesting story that this robot apparently goes through, not in the movie.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Part 2, well, you say it doesn't have nearly as much Jimmy as you would expect, but I'm assuming that something is explained.
Oh, Garrett, it is not.
I'm going to be so disappointed.
You're going to be so angry next week.
Yeah, I'm still kind of floored by that because I was hanging my hat on Jimmy for part 2. I'm really not looking forward to part 2 now.
He is in it.
Sure, of course he's in it, but like I assumed it's the Jimmy story.
It is not. It is not a story that happens parallel to this that tells you how he got those antlers. It should be.
Well, no, I don't need that. I just
do.
Assume, well, yeah, that's never going to happen. You've got some weird fascination with watching this robot kill animals. That's your thing.
No,
that's fine.
They don't show
it's
it.
fine.
He just tells you about it.
Right, I see. Well, right, but what happens in the middle of the movie? Like what happened? Like,
I don't know. Maybe it's a short film, Garrett. Maybe he shows up to help them, and maybe these guys show up to fight, and they're immediately bested. The 7 samurai are immediately bested by the space Nazis, and then he has to come in and save them. And that's when he explains this thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The main problem with this space Nazi situation is I don't understand how this is a movie at all. Because how did the soldiers on the ship not find out that all their comrades have been murdered? There's no radio in this universe.
well, they were busy. They were chasing Cora.
The soldiers stationed in the village apparently don't have to check in for 10 weeks.
Maybe Eris covered it because I don't know where he went. The scrawny one.
They're just gonna assume that everything will run perfectly?
I mean, maybe he's checking in. Like, oh, everything's still good here.
Okay, that does happen in the second
down.
movie.
Okay, well, there you go.
But this
rock
is
solid.
Listen, you want to talk to that commander. You don't trust the private to relay these messages.
Putting out Zod on the phone.
Yes,
Is he
absolutely.
out chipping down saplings again? Tell him
Oh,
to
God,
do his
Jesus
job.
Christ.
It's better than most of the words you said. Anyway, after this big slow-mo fest, Cora dramatically turns to the camera and says, "We're gonna have to fight."
Yeah, Jesus
completely
Christ.
changing her mind after one scene that makes no sense, really.
Well, sort of. They're gonna come back at some point.
Right, but I cannot imagine they're going to find another 12 men that all uniformly agree that sexual assault is a tasteful way to conduct oppression.
It's not tasteful, but it is effective.
Timothy Richardson on sexual assault.
What about the Chinese War? Anyway, Garrett, this is where the plot of the movie begins. Cora and Gunnar, the fake Brad Pitt, they set off to put a team together. And this is officially the exact plot of the first half of Seven Samurai.
Yeah, also most of the Star Wars movies. They're putting together a group of rebels.
But it is the plot of Seven Samurai right down to the fact that the bad guys are after their goddamn crops.
Yeah, that part part is kind of silly.
Yeah. They ride off on horses across a very diverse landscape that this moon is definitely not big enough to support. We get a little more Korra backstory. This is basically delves into a Thanos ripoff now. Belisarius destroyed all of Korra's people, but takes her as his daughter away from the family that he murdered.
The way it happens is a Zack Snyder special.
Yeah. He sees her in an alley, and he takes his gun, gives it to her, and like essentially puts it in his own mouth and's like, fucking kill me.
Yeah, and when she proves that she would, he's like, I love you, little girl, and he Thanoses her away.
Yeah, she graduates from whatever.
Battle school.
Yeah, and the Emperor gives a speech that is visually ripped off again from the General Hux in The Force Awakens or maybe Game of Thrones, right? And again, this is the point we should say. Those things, the Game of Thrones and the Star Wars, were getting their imagery from like Mussolini and such. Zack got it from those things.
Yeah, he loved The Force Awakens. So then we see that Korra's been trained to be an elite soldier, a great among peers, because she is the effective daughter of Belisarius. She has huge standards to live up to, and we learned that she took a lover while she was in the Stormtroopers, much like the Romans did, so that they would fight extra hard. And of course, Tim, that lover gets brutally cut down in battle. And what do you think happens next?
She does a melee?
A melee in slow-mo, motherfucker. It is so fucking confusing. They try to go for the frenetic pace of like a Saving Private Ryan, or what was that Tom Cruise movie with the Live, Die, Repeat?
Oh, Edge of
Day
Tomorrow.
After Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow. There it is. One of those. Anyway, that movie, those beach fighting scenes, those are legit. Those are fucking terrifying.
I think you're thinking of Saving Private Ryan.
I said both.
Okay.
Anyway, both are effective, frenetic, paced, well-shot movies that give you a sense of how confusing war is and terrifying. This intercuts so much aggressive slow-mo and cuts between angles here, and here. And then to make matters worse, this is a Zack Snyder film, so he just kept turning up the white. Why is it so washed out? Why does this man hate colors? I am certain.
You're sweating.
I'm furious. I am certain if I were to look at the concept art or even the digital backgrounds created for this movie without his washed out bullshit on top, there's incredible detail to those worlds. But I can't see any of that because it is either in slow-mo and it's blurred to fuck, or he's washed it out to the point that I can't tell what's sky and what's buildings.
Yeah.
It is enraging.
Well, yeah, Garrett, it simulates the fog of war. We all get it.
That is not what happened. Anyway, they arrive at this town. It's a giant wooden town, sort of looks like feudal Japan or possibly the village in The Passage. Remember The Passage, Tim?
Yes.
And I was surprised to learn there were others on this planet because they set off after the barn fight and they're like, we got to find General Titus. And they're like, all right, let's get on the space horses. I thought for sure they were the only people on the planet, but no.
Yeah. We get a really unimaginative cantina scene. There is not a single werewolf to be found.
Disappointing, But they literally go to a cantina looking for rebels.
Yes,
like, I think I've seen this.
They're going to find a specific guy, but before they get there, or right as they get there, he gets captured by bounty hunters because, again, Zack has seen Star Wars. And this guy gets put into this straitjacket gurney robot thing.
I called it a gurney spider.
Yeah, and that carts him off. And so they go into the cantina. And again, Garrett, this movie gets really rapey for some reason.
Needlessly sexually deviant.
Yeah.
And look, I love sexual deviancy as much as the next person. That is to say, a ton. But it's got a time and a place.
Yes.
And this is not it.
Well, Garrett, this is the time and the place because this weird, melty-faced monster creature wants to purchase fake Bradley Cooper, and he says that he is so good at sex that Brad will come around and by morning be into it, despite looking like a sentient pile of herpes and also possibly not being the gender that this Brad fella's into. And also, he really aggressively grabs fake Brad Cooper's junk. It is upsetting.
You know who I think this guy looks like, aside from a very diseased testicle? Harvey Weinstein.
Kinda does, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes you
Sugar
think.
water.
Really makes you think.
No, it doesn't.
Korra beats the bar rapist guy up. People laugh and watch, including a character that kind of looks like he's supposed to be on the set of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yeah.
That was weird.
The bartender's some sort sort of robot covered in candles. I don't know what's going on there.
I wasn't sure if he was an alien, like a candelabra alien, where he's like, those are part of his body, or if he's just setting candles all over him.
That's a great question. Does that man grow candles out of his shoulders? I don't know.
No,
and do they light themselves?
Well, it would be really rude if you grew candle-shaped things and people kept lighting them.
Yeah, I would assume it would be excruciating based on what I know about fire.
Yeah, and you know quite a bit. I have seen your handiwork. Anyway, Cora for some reason announces that she is looking for information. No one answers until some weird alien he's like a mosquito kind of thing. He's mind controlling some poor withered bastard with these glowing tubes, tells her about a coliseum where General Titus is, and this is definitely stolen from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, but I want to be nice where we can. First of all, Zack Snyder, by all accounts, lovely human.
I would like to be friends with him.
Absolutely. I don't think we're going to get that chance.
Not after this, no.
No, probably not after part 2. If it's really as Jimmy free as you've made it out to be, there's going to be issues. Anyway.
You're going to be angry.
Beyond angry. I'm angry now. I haven't even seen it. Anyway, so we got the robot candle guy. What were we saying? Oh, right. This is where we meet Kai, a.k.a. Charlie Hunnam, a.k.a. not Heath Ledger.
We don't meet him yet, right? Because
you're right.
The melted-face rapist comes back for revenge with some of his buddies, and it turns out a lot of the people in the bar are this guy's men or something. Candelabra ducks behind the bar, shootout happens, and they're saved by Charlie Hunnam, again, the Sons of Anarchy / Kai. He's set up as a Han Solo type.
Yeah, but they're saved, Tim, by slowmo.
Well, sure, yeah.
You are just glossing over what is really like a 2.5-minute set piece that in movie time takes place in, 38 seconds. But a good 2.5-minute set piece as the movie goes of slow-mo and table flipping and squibs going off.
I'll say this. My plan originally was to just buzz through it, and then in post, I was going to slow these parts down unintelligibly.
I feel like we should have like a buzzer or a sound, like a slow-mo alert that just goes off when you're describing scenes that are in slow-mo.
Let's not do that.
No, that's a lot of work, and it would be irritating.
Yes. Anyway, but
you're right.
Kai, it's super obvious, it's super telegraphed right up front. This guy's going to be a bad guy.
Yeah, you can tell immediately he is no good.
Yeah, and he plays it super Irish with a borderline grill for some reason, and offers them a ship for essentially whatever they can pay, whatever it's worth to them. And
which should be suspicious.
It should. They take off in this junky-looking ship. It's their version of the Millennium Falcon. And then we cut to something disgusting.
The second best character in the movie.
We cut to Atticus Noble, head bad guy, still somehow unaware that all his men on the planet have been killed because they have no radio or way to check in.
Everything's fine here.
He's applying some sort of leech snake contraption all over his torso. He's
doing like body drugs. He's inhaling.
That's the thing. Is it a drug thing or is it a sex thing?
Well, no, there's two things. And I can understand the confusion now. Or maybe I was wrong. I don't think so. I think
he's in it for the drugs. I think the contraption thinks it's having sex and he's getting hot.
I can't believe I don't know the answer to this. We're going to have to go to the tape, which we're not going to do, but listeners could. I think it's two separate things. I think the first thing is like a bong that he hooks into his side, or hookah, as you like to say. Mm-hmm. And then I think after that, there's a tentacle monster he is fucking.
Interesting. Okay. I assumed it was the same thing.
It might very well be. Because
so what I thought was happening, because there's this like green smoky liquid,
right?
That's the
hookah,
right? So it seems like he's plugging himself in and he's getting high off that liquid, and it's these weird leech snake things, right? But then when he stands up, it like curls around his neck, and he seems a little embarrassed. The actor plays it like, "Oh gosh, don't embarrass me in front of my friends." It seems like he's also banging it.
Yeah, no, he's Tim. He's fucking that tentacle monster. That's for sure. But you're right. There is, because he's high on whatever came out of that either device or tentacle, remains unclear. Because he's all fucked up, he really does give like a babe, not one of the other soldiers.
You know what? That's a great character choice. If that was on purpose, that's fucking funny. He gets informed essentially that the bounty hunter has caught somebody that might know where the Blood Axe army is.
Yeah, let's take a moment to just really absorb the names in here. We got Nemesis, that's a woman. And then we've got the Blood Axe siblings. The Blood Axe siblings. And folks, if you've not seen the movie, first of all, what you're doing right now is insane. But
Yeah,
second,
go watch this movie. You have Netflix. I know you do.
yeah, anyway. But if you haven't, can you guess what they look like? Just from the name Blood Axe, heavy armor, big axes, face paint, you nailed it. Good job. That's the Blood Axe siblings.
They're all like painted up and look like the army from Braveheart for whatever reason.
Yeah, but all their armor looks kind of cheap and foam padded like Raider Nation.
Yes. Yes, it does. It looks
people
like
in the stands at sad Oakland games, I guess now Nevada games, with the face paint and the fake pads with the points on them.
Yeah, it looks like the Gwar costumes.
Yeah, they're like half committed Gwar heads.
Yes, it looks like he got the costumes from people at Comic-Con.
Yeah, like it's all spiky and aggressive, but you can tell it's like soft to the touch and bends if you get near it.
Absolutely. The good guys fly to a desert planet called Wadi, and they meet a space Native American?
Well put.
Indigenous alien? I don't know what to call him. I know you favor the term Injun. I'm uncomfortable with that.
Okay, come on, you dick. I would never say that. God damn it.
He's like a space Tarzan. His name is Tarek, but I kept... did you ever play the Nintendo 64 game Turok the Dinosaur Hunter?
Of course I did.
I would really like to see a Turok the Dinosaur Hunter movie starring this guy.
Yeah, no, he'd do a great job.
Yeah.
And again, they're only there with Tarek because Kai, like just before they take off to go see Titus, he's like, oh, by the way, I gotta make a quick stop. It's unrelated and not suspicious at all. Don't ask about it, though.
Yeah, I know a couple other guys that we can trick. Yes.
Yeah, it's like, what? Who are you? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. And whatever the case, you can tell immediately that this new guy not going to put a shirt on for the entire film.
Hates him. Can't be bothered.
Yes. And he's enslaved to some sort of space deliverance character who is definitely just waiting for a couple of unprepared boys to stumble in, and we'll see what happens. But they do a Phantom Menace gamble for his freedom. Tarek has to tame a giant space hawk with his mystical Native American powers in a scene that is stolen right out of the first Avatar movie.
Right, but somehow like a little racist.
Yes. You know, again, it's a mystical Native American trope. It's, yeah.
Yeah. I have like section headings for each like chunk of notes so that I don't have to read it all verbatim and I can just jog my memory. This section's called Tame That Bird.
Yeah. This creature, it makes no sense, right? Because there's two guys holding it down with ropes. It could easily just fly away at any point, as it does 2 seconds later, which makes me think that they just caught it, and so it's just a happy coincidence that this thing is there for them to gamble on. Or maybe
That's not
there's
to think about.
Always two guys just holding this thing down. I don't know. But the taming...
I'm not going to get caught up on that. What bothered me was, as a person who has never seen all of Avatar, ever, even I was just like, so like, what do we just do in the Avatar scene?
Yeah. And again, the Avatar scene is not unique to Avatar, but he got it from Avatar.
Yeah, well, because that thing, this griffin bird thing, also has a tail, like the Avatar thing.
Yeah.
Now, they don't, braid with it or whatever, but the whole thing is wildly reminiscent. Like, beat for beat, it flies around, it tries to shake him, he tames the bird.
Yeah, it does shake him off. Well, first of all, it runs into a wall in such a way that his leg would be nothing but a stump. Gives him a pretty severe TBI. And then there's a classic, beautiful slow-mo jump in front of the sun. He blocks it out for just a second as his limbs are flailing, and then he lands on this thing, and then they just kind of get each other, you know?
Yeah, let's respect him.
No, absolutely. After he tames this thing and they fly it back, they just leave it there, which is weird.
Yeah, I thought that was very strange. He's like, all right, I've broken this bird's spirit. Here you go.
Yeah. And the slave master guy thinks that he can ride it because it's been broken now, but Garrett, he is not worthy.
Yeah.
So obviously it murders the guy and eats his face. I assume this is going to be in the R-rated cut, but it's kind of a cutaway and just a bloody gurgle.
Yeah, you just kind of hear it off screen.
Yeah, but then they just fly off in their spaceship with Tarek, and is this bird's home planet? I don't know how it's going to survive. I don't know why they didn't take it with them. It seems like that could be useful.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
They should have taken that bird.
Yeah, that would be great to fight space Nazis. I think this bird looks like it would hate space Nazis.
I mean, it'll do whatever Tarek says, so at this point, who gives a shit?
That's true.
All right, so now we've got our first new member of the gang, I guess unless you're counting Kai, which I'm not. He's more of a manager in the baseball sense, like a GM.
Yeah.
Anyway, and now it's off to go meet a literal witch.
Yes.
Played by Baiduna, aka Nemesis.
And they go, Garrett, to the cobalt mining planet Dagus. That is a real thing that appears on the screen.
Here we meet a witch. Well, she's a lady in a witch hat, Nemesis, and she is fighting a giant spider person who has stolen a child to protest pollution. Is that accurate?
Yes. So apparently all the cobalt mining on the cobalt mining planet Dagus has damaged her eggs, so she revenge kidnaps children.
And Nemesis is going to get her back. This lady, to me, looks like the Borg from Star Trek First Contact. You ever see that movie?
I didn't, but I know the Borg. I know them well, Garrett. Don't ask why.
That's a super weird response. I for sure wasn't gonna. It's straight into another fight sequence. This time it's Nemesis v Spider Lady, and it's a sword fight for 2/3 of it. And then once Nemesis is getting her ass kicked, she's like, oh right, these are lightsabers, by the way.
I don't understand why that helps, because...
Well, it doesn't effectively change anything.
The regular swords are able to just like cut these spider legs off just fine.
Sure. I don't know, maybe you're just more scared of them?
I don't know.
I guess they're not lightsabers, they're more laser blades.
It feels like a video game power-up. And also, yes, they are lightsabers, come on.
Well, they're blades with lasers.
Smoky lightsabers.
They're laser blades. Anyway,
Yeah.
Here's the question I have for this scene, Tim. Where are our heroes?
They're hanging
just
out in the back of the room, yeah.
Why?
I have a better question, Garrett. Where is this spider lady? Because it seems like...
Above.
No. Because when they come down an elevator to where this lady is, she's just like hanging out in like... where?
A back alley.
Not even a back alley. It seems like it's like a back room of this.
Oh, see, I pictured it was more like the subterranean city in Futurama. Old New York.
Okay, that's fair. But it's weird because to get to her, they walk through one of those like weird plastic vinyl strip things that you sometimes see like in a loading dock at like a grocery store or a warehouse or something.
Yes. I think they were just headed outside. I think the spider's outside, but they're very, very far below the modern city.
Okay.
And so it seems very... Well, and again, Tim, you can't see jack shit. Dude, there's whole scenes in this movie I straight up couldn't see because the new thing with cameras are that you can get true blacks without it being noisy. But the downside is I can't fucking see, man. There's whole scenes in here I can't see what's happening. And whole parts of this fight sequence I can't see what's happening. And that's fine. I don't give a shit because it's more slow-mo. The whole time, and this is the part that just drove me crazy, is they're there to get Nemesis, to recruit her to fight with the rebels. And then they just watch her almost die. It's only eventually Kai is it Gunner? It's Gunner who's
Gunner,
like,
yeah.
oh, I guess I should maybe like get this kid that was going to get eaten by a spider lady. And Cora's just in the back like, I'm sure she's got it.
Well, that's the thing. You gotta see if she's really made of what Kai said she was, right?
Yeah, I did think about that. But if she gets eaten by a spider lady, who you don't even get the choice to
eaten by a spider lady, she wasn't worthy. Yeah.
I don't think they're in that position.
Yeah, they should probably take whoever they can get. We take her back to the ship and we get more Cora backstory after Thanos adopted her. She did well as a stormtrooper, so she was made a Republican guard and bodyguard to the princess, who is, of course, a blonde white girl who can make dead birds come back to life for some reason.
And pause. They casually slip, and I'm not even sure I caught it the first time. The princess can bring animals back to life.
Yeah,
that's
and Garrett,
what?
This made Cora think that she was different, special.
She's a little different.
Of course she's special, you fucking idiot. She can literally reverse death. This is terrible writing.
It's so nuts. At least in this exposition dump, we do get some much needed Cary Elwes flashbacks as the king. Love that guy.
I like
the Dread
him
Pirate Roberts.
much better with that beard.
Interesting. I like him in all flavors. I'm a CE fan.
Fair enough.
Anyway, then we get, after this weird and shocking plot twist, which actually, let's use this as an opportunity to fill in some blanks that are not abundantly clear when you watch the movie. So for those of you who have seen it and those of you who are listening to this and haven't, you psychopaths, what they don't make abundantly clear is that the king and the queen first were, I think they say something like, for 10,000 kings, the realm reached out to all aspects of space and conquered world after world. And then when Cary Elwes, or Yules, depending on who you talk to, has Ilsa, I don't know.
Isis.
Isis. That can't be it. Issa. When he has this little girl who can bring animals back to life, he's like, I was wrong. And that's when he goes the other way and he wants to bring prosperity to all these worlds and not conquer them.
Yeah.
And that's more or less why Belisarius had them killed.
It makes you think that maybe this little girl is different, special.
Curious?
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been seeing a lot of Scientology ads lately on my feed. I don't know why.
Interesting. That might be what I'm up to
curious.
On your phone. Anyway,
interesting.
Now off to the gladiator arena of Castor on the moon of Pollux to find
moon of Pollux, Tim, before we even get there, and I'll let you do it, I promise, but we gotta call it out. As we get off of the ship, all we've done is land on Pollux. We're nowhere near anything. They get off the ship, slow-mo cape reveal. Why? Just let them disembark, put on the cape, and go. But he was like, no. Do you know how enraging it must be to edit a film with this guy? And let's slow this part down. The cape? Yeah. I really want them to see the furl of the cape. This is an establishing shot, Zack. The important part is that we are on Pollux. But there's no reason we can't emphasize the cape.
That's true. And it looked great.
I hate both of you. I think you and Zack Snyder would be grand friends.
I expect we would. He's apparently a very lovely individual. We're here on Pollux to find another key member, probably just an opportunity to throw some of that unused 300 imagery in here. It's very strange to me that we don't get a gladiator fight.
We get
shocked.
no glimpse into any. It's a great setup. When we land on Pollux after that slow-mo cape, I'm like, oh right, gladiators, we're gonna get a fucking awesome fight. This is an excellent set piece. And it is, hands down, the most boring part of the movie.
Yeah. General Titus is a filthy drunken mess in an alley. They have to hose him off and scrub him down. Samuel L. Jackson definitely turned this part down.
Interesting.
He gets bathed in this giant column. It's this round room. It's this columned round room. It looks like where a Greek or Roman governing body would meet.
Yeah, it looks like the Senate, but instead there's Jimon Hansu in the center with a little girl cleaning him.
Yes. He doesn't take much to join the team. It's essentially, would you like some revenge? You son of a bitch, I'm in.
It is almost that. I'm not even kidding. It's wouldn't you like to be general again? Don't call me that. I'm not that. But wouldn't you like to be? Okay. Only the way he says yes, I don't know if this caught you the way it caught me. Both times, and I do invite listeners to go back and watch this scene because it's weird. When he decides to yes, I'll join you, he does so by very awkwardly standing. His feet are too far apart. I think it's a blocking issue and the camera angle goes to a funny spot. You can tell it's uncomfortable. It's one of those things where had they used the other angle, it would have looked normal, but you can tell that he's standing awkwardly to fit a camera angle.
I had a thought one time I watched this where I thought it was on purpose. He is a
haggard.
Yeah, he's haggard. He's a broken man, but he's still standing with them despite that. But it's probably what you said.
Well, I hope it's not what you said, because if so, that's just a bad choice. That's just bad filmmaking.
Yeah. The guy that got bounty hunted at the cantina, he gets wheeled in for Atticus Noble to, I guess,
interrogate.
And he's asking where the blood axes are. He tells him, and then they kill him with a No Country for Old Men gun to the spine.
Right. And that's important. So they're on, what did we call it? The spider gurney. And he's looking straight up. And and they interrogate him. And I want to point out, I don't know if this struck you as odd. It's casual Atticus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's no coat, and it's still very intimidating. Maybe more intimidating than the full Nazi regalia.
It's not as intimidating as if you caught him halfway through a lovemaking session with a tentacle monster.
That's true. And he looks sheepishly at you like, you know how it is. I don't. We don't fuck aliens where I'm from. Anyway, he looks like kind of like a 1950s accountant. Like he's just got his tie and his tie clip and his white Oxford. It's very alarming.
It is, yeah. But you are always alarmed by accountants.
Like it's very rare, like because this is basically an amalgam of Star Wars films, it's almost unheard of to see any of the villains like kicking back.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't need my coat. I'm at my ship. You don't wear your sport coat at home.
Yeah, that's fair. So, but again, they kill him with this No Country for Old Men gun that kind of goes into this spider gurney and shoots him in the neck. Classic betrayal again. They have to have all these signifiers to let you know the bad guy is in fact a bad guy.
He's a space Nazi vampire. It's clear.
Yeah, they send the dead guy off to get his brain scanned. It seems like it would have just been easier to ask him more questions, but the rebels are on their way. They go to King Leviticus, who is a catfish monster. He looks like some of the aliens in the Phantom Menace, maybe some of the like Trade Federation guys or something from that
like
movie.
Half goat, half catfish.
Yes. The Blood Axes show up. Brother Blood Axe joins with a few soldiers, including one very specific lady soldier who gets a lot of screen time for some reason.
I think she was probably Darian's special lady.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
do want to point out, because this is basically an entire movie of recruiting people, once again, Cora's like, hey, would you and your sister join us? And they're like, no. And she's like, but what if I asked again? And suddenly the sister's still like, just said no. But the brother's like, yeah, okay, since you put it that way.
Yeah. And these are the Braveheart makeup to people. Cora also makes a speech in here that there's a lot of yelling and overemphasizing words. It does not sound like how anyone would actually talk, but I think it's the direction in the writing.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, at this point, I was pretty checked out on the dialogue. I kind of got the sense of what was happening. You're going to stop somewhere, recruit someone, they're going to get on the ship. And I want to point out, like, real missed opportunity to, like, show more ship interaction with all these new friends. Basically, they get put in some sort of, like, coffee can and we don't see them again.
Yeah, you would also like it to be longer. I agree. Now, I really don't understand the plan here because at this point, it's if they win, right? If they get this team of guys, they go back to the village and they win the battle. Mm-hmm. Even if they destroy that ship, another one's just going to come and blow them up from space, right?
But then they'll fight that ship.
Right. But that one's not going to send men down. That one's just going to shoot them from orbit.
Listen, we haven't thought through all of the stages yet. Let's just cross that bridge when we come to it. We'll call that Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scar Giver.
Excellent.
I guess it'll be Part 3,
the Scar Taker.
Sky of Fire. Scars of, we'll combine 1 and 2, the Scar Fire.
The Scar Child.
Oh, I like that. Are you the Scar Child? Yes, I am the Scar Child. We're getting off topic.
It's very important that this child is not scarred, though. It's like an ironic thing, right? Like this child, they called him that because he is not scarred.
Well, what if he's like a Harry Potter situation? It's more of a birthmark.
No. It's like all the other children are scarred. It's like when you call like a really big guy tiny.
I see.
It's stupid. It doesn't matter.
I want this to end.
Then we get the most obvious fake good guy turn from Sons of Anarchy, right? There's this whole like, I'm a good guy now. I want to be an honorable man. We just have to make one stop first. It's definitely not a trap. Don't worry about that. But I'm going to give up my thieving ways and I'm going to be a good guy.
And I want to say, if there was any doubt at all that this guy was going to betray them, the moment you put in the scene, oh, hey, by the way, I just wanted you to know I'm super on board for this. It's just like, okay.
See, the only thing that makes me stop and say maybe that's not the case is maybe Zack Snyder knew he was writing a Zack Snyder movie. And he's just like, listen, look, we got to get in here that this guy's going to be a good guy because people might not have, it might have been too subtle, right? So we got to make sure everyone's on board. This is a good guy now.
That way they know it's a twist when it happens.
Yes. Noble shows up and kills King Leviticus with a slow-mo beating with his club stick bone metal thing.
Oh yeah, I was sad about that.
Yeah. And they nuke the planet from orbit. Again, what they would do to this fucking farm.
They need that grain though, Tim.
That's true. They actually really do need the grain. They're quite hungry. But the thing is, they nuke it like quite closely to where they're standing, and they just do this kind of casual, like, nonchalant walk back into the ship despite the massive shockwave and radiation they would be receiving.
Yeah, no, it's weird. For as much money as I'm sure they spent on this movie, I gotta say it, like visually, it looks like dog shit.
Some of it looks great. It's
okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
but there's whole action sequences where you're just like, this looks terrible.
Yes, it's weird. They spent their money in weird places. We're off to an unregistered trade depot where sketchy McSons of Anarchy is definitely not going to betray them. It's a floating city that is wholly unique in design and idea to this movie.
Dude, I had the hardest time of all the set pieces understanding what I was looking at in this scene, which is a shame because it's the end of the movie.
How big is it? What are its properties? Like, it's...
Yeah, like, where am I? Is it floating? Is there land? Turns out, as you said, it's a floating city. Why are all the buildings gray and the background's gray? Are there ships tethered to this?
They are. That's the craziest thing, Garrett. They tie their spaceships off to the dock like they're either horses or rowboats.
Or dirigibles.
Or dirigibles, yes. Now, the Blood Axe guy yells to his men in the spaceships for directions. I don't think they have radio in this universe. Did you notice that? He's standing on there and he's like, you, Doc, you fucking,
that's true.
It
keep
is all
watch. Screaming.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The good guys unload boxes from the cargo hold of Sons of Anarchy's ship, and these turn out...
he does. Do you catch him? He squeezes in a like, hey, but don't open them, okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's just like the yellow shoebox under my bed and the gold shoebox under Garrett's bed, or couch bed, I should say. We don't open them. That's our own private property.
Never open them. I've opened yours.
No, you haven't.
No, I haven't.
You would never stop screaming if you'd open mine.
I just can't imagine what's in there, given the things that you are more than willing to tell me.
So these boxes turn out to be the straitjacket gurney robot spider things.
Right.
And so
if you haven't seen it, folks, like if you've ever seen Beetlejuice, it looks like that sculpture that captures the mother.
Yeah. Apparently, Sons of Anarchy was just planning and orchestrating this whole thing the whole time, right? So he was the one, obviously he was the one he suggested, let's go get Turok, let's go get the Asian samurai
Nemesis.
robot. Yeah, Nemesis. That's it. I don't know how I forgot that. But he was orchestrating this from way before that too, way before he met Korra, because he just had these things in his ship.
Right. Well, he might have been more of a bounty hunter than he let on. That's the only thing I can think of.
Sure, but I don't know. It seems like he had just the right number for the principal characters he was planning on kidnapping.
Yeah, let's not get too lost in the coincidences and necessary coincidences for this plot to work at all.
Right.
But
we have betrayal, Garrett. These things pop up. They grab each one of our main principal characters. They're all in these straitjacket things. And Sons of Anarchy, for some reason, gives every character an intro.
It's so weird. He gives a speech enumerating all of the members of the gang again, in case you forgot, because you haven't seen them in some time.
Right.
And why they would be wanted. And then the weirdest thing in the world happens. Atticus Noble shows up and does the exact same
Absolutely.
thing.
He gives these characters a third or fourth intro at this point. And
it's
also
baffling.
Sons of Anarchy gives himself a little bit of an intro, right? He says he betrays everyone in this team on behalf of the Mother World because the Mother World killed his family and planet, so he's on their side.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
It makes no sense at all. It made me laugh so hard when Atticus comes down and then like basically gives the exact same speech. It almost makes me think that Snyder did it on purpose to show that like this dude isn't quite as cool as he thinks he is. He's literally doing what was just done and thinking he's original. Because you even get the line like while he's giving his speech, Kai's like, well, I kind of did all the work.
That's
which
true.
He should have killed him right then and there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like giving him too much credit, though. I think what he did was he filmed a version of Noble doing this and a version of Sons of Anarchy doing this, and then just to pick one of the two and then just threw them both in.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so then Kai makes not Bradley Cooper get up, and he's like, "You're gonna kill Cora in front of all these people, and then we're gonna take the rest of these people back to the Imperium, and I'm gonna be a hero." And so this part is maybe my biggest issue with the entire movie. I suspect you're going to know what I'm going to say, but I kind of hope not, because it really pissed me off. So same way our informant, the dude who got captured by the bounty hunters that was interrogated, the same way he died, where he's sitting in the little gurney and then they put the cowpoker in his head, pull the trigger and kill him. That's the way that Kai asks not Bradley Cooper to kill Cora. And so he takes the gun, he sticks it into the little headpiece so that it locks in, and then instead of pulling the trigger, he turns it, unlocking the mechanism and freeing Cora to begin the next action sequence. And Tim, I must ask you, why is the murder weapon also a key?
That is a great question. Another great question is, how does everyone else get free? It's apparently a key to everyone's.
Yes. Oh yeah, that I assumed.
Okay.
Did you not? I mean, it's
just
just a stick. It's a stick with a I don't know, it didn't seem complicated. It seemed less sophisticated than a bump key, and you've made one of those.
I have.
Anyway.
So he frees Cora, somehow that frees everyone else, and then he kills Sons of Anarchy with the No Country for Old Men gun.
He releases Cora, spins around, and kills Sons of Anarchy. So he's off the table while Cora starts a shootout. Mm-hmm. While Cora's in the shootout, then Gunner goes around to all the other people and lets him out. They actually do show him doing that.
Oh, okay. I just missed that.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Now there's a giant gunship that's been tethered above these people the whole time that I personally didn't see, and even after it began shooting space lasers, still didn't really see.
Yes.
Also want to say there's a number of space noises in this movie. There's no noise in space. There's none. Anyway, we're picking nits.
But here's another little nitpick here. Noble signals to the ship's gunner with the club. Radio does not exist. They have no way of finding out that all their men are dead. Radio does not exist in this universe. It's
bountiful lasers, no radio.
Absolutely. The guy on the gunship starts shooting everybody, and Bloodaxe sacrifices himself. He does a super slow-mo jump and tries initially to kill the gunner with a spear. He misses. The gunner shoots himself a couple of times. It's confusing. There's a character named Gunner who I'm not referring to. I'm referring to the spaceship gunner. It doesn't matter. He shoots him twice, and then Bloodaxe stabs this guy. They both are dead, and there's a pretty great no from the main soldier that Bloodaxe brings with him.
Yeah, special lady.
Yeah, the ship Bloodaxe attacks, crashes into the dock, and everything just sort of goes to shit. It's chaos. Noble ends up on this small floating platform thing, and god damn it, Garrett, Cora does a classic superhero landing as she jumps onto this thing, that like the 3-point landing with a flip your head up at the end. Jesus Christ.
I feel like somebody on set should have had the balls to be like, no, like we're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, that was 2013 you did that movie.
Yeah, we're done. Anyway, also when you did it in Watchmen, you were mocking, you know what? Never mind, Zack. I like Watchmen, minus the weird decision to not have a giant space squid at the end, but whatever.
Also the many rapes.
I think that's at least true to the source material.
Sure, but that's, I think, possibly part of what attracted Zachary to it.
I'm not going to say anything like that, and I'll probably bleep what you just said. Jesus Christ.
Includes it in every movie.
Let's finish this. We have a big platform. God, you're not wrong. It's in a lot of them. Anyway, we have this big platform fight. Noble and Cora, they're going at it. It looks like just absolute shit. They're poorly composited against this thing. There's no weight to it. I don't know where in space I am, mostly because I'm just floating in space. Yeah. There's a planet somewhere below them. We'll learn that at the end of the movie, but you can't see it. Don't worry about it. They're just floating on a platform. It might as, anyway. It's so...
It's set so that it's only the two of them, right? This is an octagon for them. And
exactly.
He's mostly winning. She almost falls off, but gets his leg with a chain. She uses the force, I guess. She comes up, breaks a bunch of his limbs, stabs him a few times, and then graphically knocks all of his teeth out with his club thing.
Yeah.
Spoilers, he's shown repeatedly in the rest of this movie and the second movie not missing any teeth.
I could excuse it in the second movie, but not in the first.
Yeah. As she is winning, Noble says, "This is perfect." What does that mean?
I do not know.
All right. Well,
unclear to me then, unclear to me now. You're losing.
Yeah, she beats the shit out of him, throws him off this thing, and he presumably falls to his death.
Right.
Tarek reels the platform in. General Titus makes a pointless speech, and Cora's...
It's a bad speech.
Yeah, it is. It's not great. Cora then says the ship will return to the mother world. It will never, ever return. This is definitely the end of it. We're finished. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's
the
not
next scene is
stupid.
literally like the next scene is literally them on space horses going back to Velt, being like, "Well, problem solved."
Yes,
there's not a giant army behind those 48 people we just killed.
Yeah,
and that's where we finally cut back to Jimmy the robot, who has replaced his wreath of flowers with elk antlers for some reason that apparently we don't learn anything about in the next movie, and I'm real mad about it.
I think I figured it out.
You have a pretty interesting and disturbing story to go with it. It's not bad, though. Anyway.
It's not good, but again, better than anything this movie has.
Then we learn that Noble has in fact been recovered by the Imperium,
yes.
And he gets dipped into warm liquid goo.
And he is fully toothed.
He is fully toothed. He appears to possibly have some robot insides. That's unclear to me.
He does. Yeah, he's part robot. And they seem like they hook a Neuralink. God damn it. But they hook it into all of these, like, the leech things from when he was doing drugs / having sex with a tentacle monster.
I think they're like just body ports. We're doing a Matrix thing.
Okay. Okay, let me add that one to the list of fucking ripped off bullshit.
Yeah. Let's see. This is where we finally meet Belisarius. So after he gets all hooked up to these little hoses and gizmos, he gets like transported, we'll say, into some sort of astral plane where he tells tales of his battle with the Scar Giver and that he is so close to finding her. And Tim, I gotta say, after an entire movie of hearing about this badass, this regent, very underwhelming.
I was a little intimidated by his Scottish accent and his beard, but
I found the beard to be fakery.
Oh, sure, Garrett, it is a poor Halloween costume, but it's still intimidating.
Interesting. They're stealing my beard glory.
Nobody is stealing your glorious beard. If anyone would, it would be me. Noble refers to Belisarius as master. We get kind of a Darth Vader relationship here, and we get the very obvious setup for movie 2, aka what this movie should have been: bring Cora back to me to be crucified publicly. My daughter is gonna be crucified by me. Belisarius transfers him back, and these weird priest things defibrillate him.
Yes.
The movie ends on him basically sitting up and screaming into camera. Terrible. Just terrible.
Yeah, man, it's a beast. We probably went into more detail than anybody wanted.
Probably. But one more thing before we do, let's do the rip-off rundown, a new section that I have concocted here. It's a non-exhaustive list of things this movie is stealing from. There is Seven Samurai, very obviously. This entire movie is just the first half of Seven Samurai in space. A New Hope, Inglourious Bastards, The Force Awakens, Game of Thrones, A New Hope again, all heist movies that have ever happened, Rick and Morty, Avatar, Phantom Menace, that Han Solo movie, Avengers, Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Gladiator, Beetlejuice, apparently The Matrix, Dune, Phantom Menace again, and The Empire Strikes Back. I probably missed about 30 of them.
You were wrong. That list was exhausting.
I was exhausting, but it's not exhaustive. There's a difference.
Agree to disagree. Wow. God, Tim, we've been all the way through it. I am curious. I don't think I can ask this, but I will. How did it do?
Apparently pretty well. It got 23.9 million views in the first 3 days. It was the #1 viewed film on Netflix for 1 week, then lost to The Equalizer 3. A ton of people watched this, though. Most of them probably watched it multiple times to discuss it on various inferior podcasts. In terms of critics, it got 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, 31 out of 100 on Metacritic, D- from the AV Club,
Club,
etc.
Yeah, I guess we are really, really late to the party. Even for part 2, really. But that's okay. We're here for the coldest takes. Interesting. God damn, a lot of people have watched this. What did they think of it? Oh, I guess you already said that, didn't you?
Well, I said what the critics think, but I have Amazon comments.
The Robert Kriska. No?
No. Garrett, this is a Netflix exclusive, so it is, of course, unavailable on Amazon, so there are no comments. However, the novelization, for which we will read, is available and has 79 total ratings, 4.4 out of 5 stars on average, 63% 5-star, 4% 1-star. The only 1-star review is for a book that arrived wet. So wet. Okay.
Wet.
The first review, Amazon customer, January 3rd, 2024, titled his or her review, Nope. This story had so much promise, had the potential to be great, but unfortunately all we get are the same old, tired dialogue and storylines. As for the action, adventure, and drama, it fell flat on its face. I will not be getting part 2. I wasted enough money on part 1. 5 out of 5 stars.
Hey, these are your local library folks. Don't buy this.
Christopher VB, this was reviewed from Mexico, April 28th, 2024, just a couple of days ago, called this a beautiful novel. The cover is beautiful and looks better in person. You can see the quality of detail in Snyder's work. The number of pages and size are similar to books like The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. 5 out of 5 stars.
What a strange thing to include in a review of Rebel Moon Part 1, Dawn of Justice.
The number of pages and the size of the book. Dante's Divine Comedy.
Dante Alighieri. That's fascinating. I assume it's not written by Zack Snyder.
No, it is. Somebody worked with him, and I went through like the storyboards and screenplay and wrote a novelization that is apparently similar to the R-rated version.
What a wild waste of time.
Well,
so for who?
Garrett, I have some bad news for you. I don't know exactly how I'm going to pull this off yet, but I will make you read this novelization. And it's kind of perfect because this movie is sort of like the Dan Brown book of movies. And I know a lot of people think the Dan Brown book of movies is one of the adaptations of a Dan Brown book, but it's not.
It's not.
It's this movie.
It's this movie. God, that's so accurate. And I don't know if we've ever talked about the Dan Brown challenge, but
we have.
Tim and I
a number of times, and you owe me one, fuckface.
I do. What is it? The browser or the...
I have no idea. It doesn't
probably
matter.
Not that.
It's the most recent one, I think. If not, then you owe me 2 and I owe you 1.
I hate those books so much. They're for babies. I read, well, I don't even know what they were called. I read Angels and Demons. It was so good. So many twists and turns. You're an idiot. You just took a stupid test and you scored 100.
Now, for our audience members that really like those books, it's okay.
You're stupid.
No. I mean, yes, you a little bit, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm stupid too.
Hey, so am I. My favorite movie's Face Off.
That's true, but that's the best movie.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's one of the most important movies of the last 200 years.
It's one of the most important movies of the last ever 2,000 years, maybe before.
I didn't want to get crazy, but you're right. Tim, any other reviews?
No.
Of the novelization of the movie?
God, I hope there's a novelization of the next one already, because I don't know what I'll do without these reviews.
I mean, you could just go to...
How many pages are in the next one, and what book of classic literature is it similar to?
Yeah, what shape?
Oh, that's a good idea. I bet these would be like circular books without like any sharp edges on them.
Oh God, that would be a very frustrating book to read. Oh, a circle?
Well, you don't want to hurt anyone.
Can't get purchase. Anyway, who's this for?
I have no idea.
I think it's for like 10-year-olds.
Maybe.
I don't know. Zack Snyder?
Yeah.
It looks really stupid.
Yeah.
All right, anyway. I guess that brings us to final thoughts. What have we not said? I mean, we've beaten this poor thing to death. I guess I want to say again, Zack Snyder, by all accounts, seems like a lovely person. We'd love to be friends with you. I doubt you want to be friends with us, and we get that a lot.
Yeah, but I have no problem with Zack Snyder as a human being.
Nope.
He has every right to make these movies.
Sure.
I'm gonna watch all of them. I'm gonna kind of love all of them, but in a more realistic way, I kind of hate them.
Yeah, maybe be like a cinematographer.
Yeah, no, just honestly, it's the same thing as M. Night Shyamalan. Just, you have to have somebody there that gets to say no, that gets to have ultimate final draft and final edit on everything. You get to film everything, you get to work with this person to make your story, but you do not get final cut.
I mean, and that's asking a lot. Maybe there's a halfway step here where you give one person, ideally Tim or I, a deck of cards, and we'll call that the whammy deck. And there's 100 cards in there. And every time Tim or I pulls a whammy, that means you can't do what you're doing. You have to just take it out. And no fighting, just you have to. And Tim, I think 100 whammies, you can get Rebel Moon into something that's palatable.
Maybe. We start out with a rule that says no slow-mo. That doesn't, we don't have to waste any of these cards on that. These are cards for no rape, no purchasing people for sex later.
Know your genre. Yeah, no rape as the crux of the film.
There are movies for which that is appropriate. Star Wars is not one of them.
Yeah. And I want to say in that moment, there's a beat where Cora's like, maybe I can just ignore this.
She is. Yeah, absolutely. There, you see it on her face. She's like, maybe I'm leaving this planet. This is no longer my problem. I think she
Terrible hero.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let's just get down to brass tacks. Do you hate this movie?
Yeah, I do. This movie is to be hated. It's absolute trash. However, I did have a really good time this week. What about you? Do you hate this movie?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. This is almost not fun, but also a lot of fun.
Yeah, more fun than usual. We should just do the movie thing now.
No, I don't think we're as good at it. I think we both took too many notes and are both too excited to talk, but that's okay. I'll be curious to hear this back.
Sure, but 200 episodes from now, we'll really have found our rhythm.
That's true. I mean, listen, there's a lot of musical movies out there that we could incorporate. Got that Rhinestone. I really want to watch that.
Yeah, me too.
All right. I will say this is a factor of 10 easier to do.
Yeah.
Yes. I knew every person's name in this movie except for Cora. I don't know any band members' names in the bands I like.
Yeah, let's move on.
Good point. Alrighty, Tim, that's going to do it for this week. But folks, get prepared. Next week, Tim and I will be back for Rebel Moon - Part 2, Scar Giver.
The Scar Giver.
Here's your toll, troll.
Fuck to me.
God damn it, dude. We're trying to keep it classy.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to do it for this week. If you could, rate, review, subscribe, follow, comment, share, I don't know, all those things that let other people know, hey, I like this and you might also. Or I hate this and you might also. Tim and I have proven you can make an entire form of entertainment out of hating the thing that somebody else is doing. Let us be your Snyder. We'll be your Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
That guy makes millions. You can hate listen all you want. But for those of you who love listen, we love you back. If you want to reach out to us, it's hatePodMail@gmail.com or hatepod.com and click on contact us in the upper left-hand corner. You can also find us on Instagram. That's hatepod. Threads is hatepod. Twitter is album hatepod. And I think that's about it. Oh, I'm G Harvey Tweets on Twitter. If you want to talk to me, you can do that there. But that's going to do it for us this week. We got another week of Rebel Moon ahead of us, and I'm not excited. Tim's already seen it because he couldn't contain himself. You're a sick puppy.
I watched it
you've done some weird
out.
stuff. Yeah, you did. You've done some questionable things in our friendship, but this one might be numero uno.
Lets me off the hook for quite a bit of things.
That's just how disturbing this behavior is. Anyway, that's going to do it for this week, folks. For Why I Hate This Album Movie Edition, I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I have been the other, Timothy P. Richardson, and Garrett P. Harvey currently has a police horse in his designated bike room slot. Make of that what you will.
I'm watching it for a friend.
A police friend? You have to tell me if you know police.
Oh, I know police.
Oh, God damn it.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full assault on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive. The lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides. The cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week. Now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Gary.